Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Rodriguez,
Here.
Councilmember Martinez,
Here.
Councilmember Ortiz.
Here.
All right, we have a invocation by Pastor Valenzuela.
Yeah, I'm filling in for Pastor Diana, so I'll be doing the prayer. So bow our heads. Father, we just want to thank you for this day, Father God. Thank you, Father God, for bringing us here, Father God. We just want to lift up, Father God, the council members, Father God, the mayor, Father God, and we just ask you, Father God, that you just, Father, as you anoint them, Father God, with your wisdom, Father God, with your knowledge, Father God, and Father, just be upon this meeting, Father God, and let Greenfield be, Father God, a prosperous place, Father God, and with the decisions, Father God, that is going to come about, Father God. We just want to give you the praise and the glory in all your name. In Jesus' name, amen.
Please stand for the pledge. Ready, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We are going to adjourn the closed session to start the meeting.
Yes, the city council will be discussing one item in closed session pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.9, conference with legal counsel related to anticipated litigation, significant exposure to litigation pursuant to paragraphs 2 or 3 of subdivision D of Section 54956.9 of the Government Code, and they'll be discussing one case.
Thank you. We'll be back. Opens. I will open the meeting up for public comment on closed session items.
I will reserve the closed session report out for item number H1.
Agenda review.
No changes, Mr. Mayor.
City Council business H. Document of resolution, City Council. City of Greenfield ratifying the appointment of Andrew Tipton to City of Greenfield City Council. Staff report petitions.
Good evening, Mayor White and City Council. Oh. Is it? Just one sec. Good evening, Mayor White. Thank you. I'll start my staff report. On September 12th, 2023, the City Council considered filling the District 1 City Council seat. vacancy, and they validly appointed Andrew Tipton. On September 13th, 2023, the city received a Brown Act cure and correct demand alleging that the appointment had not been properly agendized. The Brown Act requires any party alleging a violation of the Brown Act to make a written demand to the city council to cure or correct the violation within 30 days from the date the action was taken, if the alleged violation was related to a meeting agenda posting. The city council then has 30 days to cure and correct the action. If the city council does not act, a lawsuit may be filed within the next 15 days. An alleged violation that is cured or corrected by a subsequent action of the city council will be dismissed without prejudice, meaning the city council admits no wrongdoing. The city attorney does not believe there was a Brown Act violation. However, to cure and correct the Brown Act violation allegation, the city attorney recommends that the city council ratify its previous decision to appoint Andrew Tipton to the city council. If the city council chooses not to ratify the resolution, it will not change the previously made appointment. And with that, I will turn it back to you, Mayor.
Open for public comments on item H1. Seeing none. Go online, we have CD online. Council comments, review and action. The comments from the council. Everyone clear on the process? Exactly what's going on? Council?
Yes. Okay. Yeah.
So in closed session, City Attorney Thompson shared with us this information, which she just announced to all of you guys. The important takeaways that I took away from that are, of course, we don't want to be in violation of, we don't want to have a Brown Act violation. We don't want to open the city up to possible litigation. From the city attorney's report, it basically concludes that this is like a formality to protect the city from litigation potentially. But regardless of what our vote is tonight, I just want to reiterate what you said, that the appointment has been made, that the appointment was legally made. And so whether or not we voted yes or no on the ratification of that, Mr. Tipton will be appointed or has been appointed already and will take seat tonight. Will be sworn in and take seat tonight.
That's correct.
I need a motion on this item.
So moved.
Have a second.
Second.
Been moved in second. I'd like a roll call vote, please, then.
Yes.
No. Yes.
Yes. All right. Motion passed. All right, let's move to H2, swearing in Councilmember Andrew Tipton. Oh. Uh-oh. No, gotta be music by the book here.
I state your name.
I, Andy Goodman,
You solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support and defend
that I will support and defend
the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the United States and
state of California,
the state of California,
against all enemies,
against all enemies,
foreign and domestic,
foreign and domestic,
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
to the same,
to the same,
that I take this obligation freely,
that I take obligation freely,
without any mental reservation
without any reservation
or purpose of evasion,
or reservation,
and that I will well and faithfully
that I will well and faithfully
discharge the duties
discharge the duties
which I am about to
which I am about to
undertake.
I have comments from the audience regarding items not on the agenda. This portion of the agenda allows an individual the opportunity to address the council on any items not on closed session, consent calendar, public hearings, and city council business, under state regulations. No action can be taken on non-agenda items, including items issues raised under this agenda item. Members of the public should be aware of this when addressing council regarding items not specifically referenced on this agenda. Do we have any public comments?
Now, honor will not explain her rich colors and give you the purpose morning here. Which is come alive during this fall season, and your local witches are busy spotting and timing the earth under the daytime. Witches, warlocks, winters, savages, fairies, fly down historic El Camino Down and full costumes on their decorated bikes. This wonderful event starts here at the Great Center. We are delighted to be led by the Greenville Fire Department Campus Department. And tonight we are beckoned with no less than your presence to cheer on as we talk to all of the boys and goblins that run the downtown area to wave us on as we bless the community with this room for the world. I'm so appreciative of Mr. Roland Hall-Wiggins and the Hall Safety for his gathering and the American Legion for attending to our solutions and groups. You probably have never seen something like this, but you're not alone. These events are very popular on the East Coast, and I've only wanted to do them, but I've never able to. So I thought, why not bring this to Greenville and put our community on the next map, and here we are. The first 2 years I did it on my own, trying to feed money and statistics. Little did I know that other community members, along with city leaders, would fall in love with the idea and how magical this event is. They wanted to make sure that we continue to bring this seasonal event to Greenfield for years to come. Greenfield will and can be known as the first because no other city or town near us hosts a witch ride. So a very big thank you to Nicole Quiros, Steph Garcia, your very own Chief Lane Board, Cynthia Zavala, Brian and Valerie Bovian. Your support means so much and I cannot thank you enough. We now have an official committee. So purchase your tickets on Eventbrite. We're under the 3rd annual Witch Ride and follow our Instagram page, Let's Fly Witches.
And if you can share our event on your social media pages, I would greatly appreciate it. So thank you to the city. And I'd also like to add that this is a fundraiser. A portion of the ticket sales will benefit the Memorial Hall. So thank you so much, and please come out and join us.
Thank you very much. Any other public comments? Moving on, we'll move to comments from the city council. Start on the far end. Oh, sorry.
My name is
You're good.
my name is Elizabeth Valenzuela, and I reside at 1096 Apple Avenue. I don't know what your guys' protocol is as far as fixing certain things around the city, but we have a really bad leak by our house, and it's not mine or my neighbors. It's your guys's. Okay. It's been already going on since it started in February. I've already made 2 phone calls to the Public Works, and my neighbor has also made a couple of phone calls complaining about this leak. My husband and I have been wanting to put a fence and also some big planters with trees in them in our front yard, and we can't go any further if that leak is not fixed. And so that's what I'm here tonight to ask, if when or how that leak can be fixed within a good frame of time. Like I said, I've already complained or called to make a complaint about this, and all they do is come out, look at it, drain the water, and they're on their way.
What was that address again?
1096 Apple Avenue.
Thank you very much.
Is that the one that's right there, like?
Yep.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yes, that's it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Jurgen Smith, Greenfield, Dodway. 2 weeks ago, I noticed a problem that was on the intersection of Walnut and El Camino. And the problem is, okay, the city has a water pipe over there that comes out of the ground, and then it goes across, and it has 2 valves on it for the purpose of turning it on and off certain sections of Greenfield. Then the pipe goes back in the ground. How you prevent somebody from just walking up there and turning off the water for half of the city is, to prevent that is, you have a chain wrapped around the the gauges that you turn. Okay. Somebody had cut that chain, and the chain is hanging on the fence there. Okay. And 2 weeks ago, I reported it to the main office here. Okay. I waited a week, still nobody came over there to secure the city's water. So I came back and I left a message for Mr. Wood to give me a courtesy call so I don't have to come over here. Apparently Mr. Wood, I guess, never got that message either. So there is a breakdown in the maintenance department or down here at the front desk, but somebody needs to secure, the city needs to secure, so that way nobody can just walk up there and turn off all the water for the shopping center and the Chase Bank and my neighborhood and maybe the other side going across the street. The chain's hanging there. The lock is on there, but somebody cut the chain. So either put a new chain on there with a new lock, or put another lock on there to secure our water from being turned off by just anybody. Okay, thank you. Have a wonderful evening.
Thank you very much. Anyone? Now, I'll bring it back.
I actually don't have much. I didn't have any comments prepared for tonight. Just looking forward to moving forward with the city.
Thank you.
Yes, so my comments are, basically, I want to start off by saying thank you to everybody who has reached out and has been praying for my husband. That's the whole reason why I've been out. I have basically an emergency where my husband physically needs me. I'm not going to go into a lot of details because I can see how harsh some of the public has been. And really thinking about these past days, I've been really thinking about my years of service and how this has been the best part of being in the council, doing something good for the constituents. So I really want to thank every single one of the voters that have voted for me over and over, even in my mayoral loss that I had against Mr. White. I want to just thank the public for everything. But being in a conference over these past days have really made me think about, and even life has really made me think about what's important in life. And what's important in life for me is my happiness, my peace of mind. I've been attacked by council members, by the public, by commissioners, even including that they were stalking and following my husband just because of this nonsense, of this circus that has begun with Council Member Martinez. And all I could say is that I've been such a tough woman. I'm proud of myself because even though against everybody and all the attacks, I'm still standing here. But there comes a point where I really do question myself. How much more am I gonna put up with? I've lost my mother. My husband has suffered a heart attack. Now we have another medical condition, again, that I won't go into detail. But I really want to make sure that the public understands that when we put our body in the line to be here and represent the public, it's me as a policymaker, not as my personal life, not as if you don't like me because of the color of my hair, because if I wear red lipstick, or because I hang out with certain people, or because I think the sky is blue. Regardless, I am here to make decisions on my community. And I think I've shown that over and over again, that I really, really, really love Greenfield. I've taken it to heart to promote the heart of the valley. And I've been able to make connections, wonderful connections that have come back and help the city in one way or another. So why am I saying this now? Because I've seen a lot of faces out there saying like, well, what is she talking about? I am not setting nothing on stone yet, but city attorney, I do want you to look into the fees that would cost, because I know that after having the appointees that we've had, we no longer could do appointments. It has to go into an election. How much that election would cost, because I'm this close of just saying I am done with the city council. It's not worth my peace of mind. It's not worth the attacks on my family, the harassment, chasing my children, going to my house, the trolls on Facebook. I know that we need to have thick skin. But again, challenge me. I encourage every single one of you out there, and even those that are watching us, challenge me on my policy making decisions, not on if I'm a Latina, if I am too outspoken, if I do this, if I do that. Regardless, life is life. Enjoy it now. Why do we need to live with so much hate? That's what I don't understand. And so that is something that I'm considering, because after I've asked, and I am going to talk about, the strengths that I found, just trying to simply ask for a leave to be with my husband I felt like there was a lot of pushback from city staff just to be able to be there with my husband, who was at the hospital, and that is uncalled for. And even now that I've been able to talk to other elected officials and other city staff, that shouldn't be happening to me. I am also a city employee, not technically, but we do have the opportunity to take that sick leave, to be away from the council because of whatever the situation might be. So I just want to make sure that the next time around you want to point fingers, anybody, and this is including for myself, we just take back a little bit more time to think about what's important in life. Are we so tired with our own life, so fed up with our relationships,
with our day-to-day lives that we want to go out there and hurt others because that's going to satisfy you, because that's going to make you happy. And because of this, we are losing so much potential people that don't want to run for office. I've said it, I don't want to be here forever. I want other people to run for office. But when I ask the youth specifically to run for office, they don't want to. And why? Because they don't want to be attacked. They want to work for the city, but they don't want to be attacked. So let's just try to be a little bit more human. Just show some love out in the community. I mean, some sympathy. That is all I'm asking. Be a little bit more human and love yourself so much that you don't even have time to go out there and hurt others. So I know it's a lot, city attorney, but I would want to see a report if you could look into that for a future meeting.
Yeah.
And then also I really want to talk really quick about the conference that we attended over the past days. There was so many things that I want to bring to the city as possibly city manager would as a presentation. I know that we've been talking about inclusive parks for so long, and the conversation is at least starting with one equipment at one park and then seeing how it could just transport to others. Our kids need it. Our Greenfield community needs it. So I really want to go ahead and bring a presenter to talk about her business and the inclusive parks that she provided over at the conference. And then I also want to talk more about the spay neuter, have a presentation not by the groups that we've worked with already. There's another group that's working directly with the other group in Salinas, off Hitchcock Road. And they really do want to just get some support from the city, whether it's starting with $1,000, $500, you name it, but really making sure that we build that partnership and it's long term. Because again, we do have a lot of pet owners out there, and we do have a lot of stray cats and dogs. And so we really want to make sure that we are able to make our community better. And with that, I know the conversation has also been with having basically a park that provides a space for our pets. And so if we can continue the conversation working towards that, that would be amazing. And the last thing I wanted to talk about was, and this is directed to you, legal counsel. I know that Attorney General Bonta has put out a bill that basically states that the cities need to align the wording in certain aspect when it comes to housing, when it comes to the health of the community, and he's really pushing to word it out as environmental justice. I don't know if both of you, Paul or Jennifer, have seen that, but I know that that was some of the conversation that we were having back and forth in the conference. How can we really make sure that we are inclusive? Because I know that Attorney Bonta and his staff are going to be coming to our area. He was already here, but he really wants to come to Greenfield. And I know that Greenfield has a great potential because of the policy that we've put in place for several years now. So I'll just end with that if we could look into that.
All right, thank you very much.
Good evening. Couple of things. I saw that they were already starting at parks. I'm not sure what order you're going to be doing them in, but I'm just really happy that that started now. Something that Councilmember Martinez said, inclusive park. I did talk to two people over at in District 1 that they do have, and I mentioned this at the last meeting, that they do have a child who's wheelchair bound, and it's something that we really need, that they can go out and enjoy themselves just like anybody else. So I hope that that's something that we can get taken care of. I don't see Chief here tonight, but I know that we've had quite a few pedestrians hit. Probably, I think there was 2 or 3 in the last couple of weeks. That's very alarming. So we need to figure out why that's happening, where it's happening at, and if there's anything that we can do about that to kind of correct that problem. So that's something. Let's see. I wanted to talk about the events that they've been having at the parks, and they've been doing movie nights and all kinds of other cool things. I just think it's really great. I really hope that staff keeps up that good work. Let's see. Also, I know that they cleared the homeless over here by Rancho, but I was really interested in what kind of services we're offering to the people when we do clearings. I know that there are vouchers, but I'd really like to get a better understanding of the things that we do have to offer to them. So if you could take care of that. I did notice the flag was up at Patriot Park. Thank you. That means a lot. Tomorrow I have a TAMSI meeting, and Friday, with council's permission, I'll be attending a dinner in Salinas as Councilmember Ortiz, Assembly Speaker Rivas, other elected officials will be there, and so I would like to go as their guest. So and that's it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mayor Pro Tem?
Do you want to provide a consensus from council as to whether or not Councilmember Ortiz can attend as Councilmember Ortiz?
Yeah.
Have one. Yes, okay. Looks like there's consensus.
Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, I'm here. This last week, I had a couple of residents reach out to me to meet with me. And I had mentioned in previous meetings that I'm happy to do that. I did meet with one of the requesters this morning, and I'll be meeting with somebody else again tomorrow. So I just wanted to let the public know, because I'm not out and about much, and I know this rumor mill is crazy. So I am responding to requests to meet with residents, and I'm happy to do that. I want to hear what our community members want, different viewpoints, even if they're not my own. And of course, I like to meet with people who do have my same viewpoints. So reach out to me if you do want to have a chat. Paul, I wanted to ask if we could get a weekly report, because we haven't had one since August 14th. If we can commence that again. And then I have more of a question for you, Paul, about the Harvest Festival. A vendor contacted me because they were interested in reserving a space, and the application lists a $650 fee for a space. And I wanted to ask, are those funds that come back to the city in any way? Is that in line with what the vendor fees have been in the past? Because this particular vendor has done a lot of events and was just really surprised by that fee.
It is different this year. It is a bigger fee. I know that the person, Victor Garcia, who was helping us put the new event together, said that any vendors who are interested that are put off by the increase in the fee, to give them a call, and they can hopefully work something out.
What was it last year?
I don't know offhand.
And the money that is getting paid to him, because I noticed on the application it is directly to him as the organizer. Does the city get that money, or what?
Well, the city has worked out an agreement that I think council passed a couple of meetings ago. And those, I'm not exactly sure. I don't think so. I think those go into actually paying for additional expenses. So the way things are being done this year relate a lot more to the way a lot of events in many other places are held, where there are sponsorships and money that goes into actually pay to be involved in it, actually go to provide services, entertainment, and such. So we've changed the model a bit, rather than the city footing the whole bill for everything. Now, so the vendors are paying a bigger part because we expect to have more people, and those fees are helping to pay for for entertainment, things like that, and advertising. Also, there are sponsorships available to businesses this year that we haven't necessarily done in the past. So it's more of a community type, getting involved with their community, rather than the city footing the bill to pay for everything for the city.
Can we get some information on a comparison of those fees? Because this particular vendor has done events all over Monterey and further up north too, and it's the largest fee they've ever seen. So, we want the event to be successful. We want vendors to want to come and make it a great event for our community. And I, would hate to think that we're charging something that's really, a lot more than other communities are.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That's all I have.
Okay, thank you very much. I have a few items tonight. Want to remind everyone about the reuse, recycle, and cleanup day, Saturday, October the 7th, 8 to 12 at the City Corporation Yard, 920 Walnut. They're accepting general garbage, clothing donations, mattresses, electronics, TVs, metal appliances, including refrigerators and freezers. No wood or yard waste, or pipes. And then also just point out, Tri-Cities does offer free removal of large items if you call. There's an 888 number to call, and you can get items taken by appointment. That number is 1-888-678-6798. Community listening session with Supervisor Chris Lopez at the Regional Library is October the 9th at 5:30. Come out and share your concerns with the local supervisors. And finally, just want to remind everyone, the Harvest Festival is October the 15th. That's less than 3 weeks away. So family fun, live music, car exhibits, lots of vendors, including food and drink. Bring family and come out and have a good time. Remind everyone about that, October 15th. All right, that's all I have.
I forgot one thing. At the last meeting, I had said that we would have another park gathering for District 3 on the 7th. And Fabiola called me and told me we can't. We have a kickoff and then the next weekend is a harvest festival. So we're to go ahead and postpone till the end of the month and work something out with Fabiola to get it going again. So
okay. All right, we'll move now to item K, consent calendar. All matters listed in the consent calendar are considered routine and may be approved by one act of the City Council unless a request for removal, some discussion or explanation is received prior to the time council vote on the motion to adopt. I'll open it up for public comments on the consent calendar. Not on back to council. Anybody want to pull any item, or if not, I would like a motion to approve.
So moved.
The motion to approve, I'll need a second.
okay.
Motion and second, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 And I abstained since I wasn't really partially at the last meeting.
Before. All right, we'll move to public hearing. L1, I need to recuse myself on this item. I own a piece of property within 500 feet of this item. So I will recuse myself and turn it over to Mayor Pro Tem.
Okay. Item L1, adoption of a resolution of the City Council of the City of Greenfield denying a design review and development agreement for a proposed 3-story, 36,410 square feet building with 24 multifamily residential units, a 2,700 square foot common area, and 8,885 square foot of commercial development on a 1.42 acre undeveloped site on the east side of the 4th Street between Apple and Palm Avenues. Staff report, please.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Members of the City Council, Paul Mugen. This is a very important project. The project itself consists of a design review for an 84-unit multifamily residential development, along with 8,800 square feet of commercial. That commercial has not been identified as to exactly what that will be. Tonight, the applicant is here and Shirley will provide a wonderful presentation about the development itself. the staff recommendation is not only reflected of staff analysis, but also having the project before the planning commission twice, at which time it was unanimously recommended to the city council that the city council deny the project. And I want to make it really clear for the city council that the issue before you tonight is an issue of zoning. The question as to whether or not the city council can approve this project is not an issue. The city council absolutely can approve the project. That's not the question. The real question to be decided tonight is, should the city council approve the project? It's worth noting that the zoning on the particular parcel is highway commercial. It also has an overlay district for mixed use. The mixed use overlay district provides for a nominal amount of residential on a particular parcel, such as one that's principally and primarily zoned for commercial development. What that means for our purposes is that in order for this subject proposal to be approved by the city council, it requires another and subsequent legislative act by the city council. This is about the 5th or 6th iteration of various proposals, all of which have been predominantly residential projects with nominal commercial. The only way any of those projects could be approved by the city council were either by a zoning code amendment or a general plan amendment, or as is proposed this evening, through a development agreement. I would again remind the city council that a development agreement is a legislative act independent of what we're doing tonight. Should the city council decide to dismiss the recommendation of the planning commission and staff, as it's fully entitled to do, you very well may do that, and it won't hurt anybody's feelings about that. What would happen is the city council would direct staff tonight to return to the city council with a development agreement with the tenants that you would approve associated with the project, as well as the secret document, because an initial study was performed to analyze the potentially adverse impacts to the environment. And then we would also have to provide and pass a resolution with findings and evidence. I would only add that the findings that the city council would make to approve the project is discussed in your staff report. It's very important that those findings are your findings, that they're the city council's findings. For example, one of the findings is consistency with the general plan or the zoning code and other planning documents that might apply. And for our purposes, we're really dealing with the general plan consistency and zoning code consistency. The city council very well could say, you know, we really want this project because we need more housing, because there's a housing emergency in the state of California that warrants putting the existing zoning in abeyance, setting aside the zoning and supplanting it, replacing it with the development agreement, which is a contract between the city council and the applicant. Totally appropriate. But the point is that the city council will need to debate the issue when it comes back to the city council, and to make sure that those findings for approval are the city council's findings. Of course, the second finding is the public convenience and general welfare. And finding number 3 is that the project will promote the orderly development and preserve property values. As the city council is well aware, the city received last Friday after 7 p.m. about a 10-page document from the applicant. That document is part of the administrative record, and staff doesn't have anything of substance to comment regarding the submittal. Any of the errors, such as the laundry mat, perhaps should not have been included in the position description, the project description, are nominal and remedied easily by a errata that can be in the administrative record. Should this project move forward for approval? The true issue, as I mentioned earlier, is whether or not the city council should approve the project. Most of the input that the planning and building department received, both from elected and appointed officials that we hear on a recurring basis in the city, involve two issues: parking and circulation problems, and second, the amount of multifamily housing that is in the city. And in cycle 5, I would remind the council that we're over 350% of our low-income housing and 200% of our RENA allocation for very low-income housing. So we've always been strong in housing construction, and the issue before the city council really is consistency with the general plan land use designation for this parcel and its zoning. It's zoned as a commercial parcel, and the mixed use overlay that's attached to that zoning would allow at a maximum 6 residential units. The proposed project before the city council proposes 24 units, fully quadruple what is allowed without a legislative action, such as either a rezone or a development agreement. The slide before you shows depicts the color combination that is associated with the zoning, shows the residential development that's attached to the zoning map. Also listed are what are in the zoning and codified as permitted uses. This parcel, when it was studied in the general plan, was expected to accommodate any one of the numerous commercial proposals listed there in front of you on this slide. This is not inclusive of all of the projects because we did not list what also could be put on the site with a conditional use permit, which is merely a project that would be reviewed and approved by the city council. This is posted for your benefit, just to indicate the inherent nature of what was expected for this parcel that is abutting the highway on the east side, of course, between Palm and Apple Avenue. The point is, it was originally anticipated to be a commercial parcel, and no city council ever has contemplated this particular parcel as a residential parcel. Once again, that does not mean that the city council cannot approve this project as proposed. But let's look at what the overlay district actually says in the code, because it's the overlay district that introduces the option of putting residential on the parcel in the first place. So what does it say about residential units on this parcel? This is exactly what it says. It's zone PS, which says, and I'm quoting from the zoning code, not permitted unless combined with mixed-use facilities in compliance with the requirements set forth in section 1742.030. Those requirements, when applied to this project, would not permit more than 6 residential units on the site. And the purpose of the overlay district is so that there could be an opportunity to provide residential units without reducing a parcel's capacity to accommodate commercial development, and it's staff's professional judgment that a 24-unit apartment building does indeed constrict the capacity for this particular parcel to accommodate more commercial development. To sum up, before the applicant is given the floor to tell the council and the community what a development this would be, I would like to say that to approve the project as mentioned at the outset, the city council would direct staff to go back to the office and return to the city council with the development agreement that captures the deliberations tonight made by council. With those documents, we would bring you the initial study completed as its sequel document, and then the proper resolution with the proper findings and evidence. Again, the question here tonight has never been whether you can approve this project. You can absolutely approve the project. The question is, should you? Staff's recommendation is that the city council echo what the planning commission recommended and deny the project with prejudice. And we say with prejudice because here's why. The applicant has been working on this project for years, at least since 2018. Well, before I or my staff or the community development staff currently on board was here. And so I have taken a personal interest in this project since Mr. Kudalink and Mr. Elliott first came to the city with new leadership to work this project, primarily because this parcel, its elongated, irregular shape, is a pretty unique parcel, but it's also difficult to develop because of its narrowness and its close proximity to low density residential to the east, and then with the highway abutting to the west. So I've taken a personal interest in this development, and what we're asking the planning commission or the city council rather to deny with prejudice is because whether the proposal was for 15 units or 8 units or 10 units or 100 units, the staff report is the same. The option 2 that's mentioned in the letter received by the city on Friday talks about how, something is brewing that the city council and the city is going to just love the project and we're going to be able to reduce the units from 24 possibly down to 20. Like I said, those numbers don't change the staff report at all because the maximum amount that are allowed under current zoning is only 6. So it's best that we get a decision from the only people who can make the decision, which is the city council, who can direct whether or not you are willing, in essence, to convert this parcel from a commercially zoned parcel to a residential parcel. The proposal tonight is 24 multifamily residential units and approximately 8,800 square feet of commercial space that hasn't really been identified. The applicant has just put forward that it will be some type of commercial. Unidentified. It's also worth noting that in the CEQA document, normally when we consider a project that's mixed use or has some intense commercial or traffic component to it, the CEQA document should take a look at the project's specific impacts so that a proper mitigation can address those impacts directly. In this case, the lead agency has accepted appropriately, but nevertheless, the lead agency, which is us, we have accepted that the mitigation for any potentially adverse impact regarding traffic or circulation would be the payment of an in lieu fee. That means is whatever traffic or circulation impacts that might happen on the ground, the property owner will just pay for it. It doesn't help. It's not one more parking space or anything like that. It's just an in lieu fee that someday in the future, some project will be developed, will be paid for to remedy the adverse impacts, none of which can be identified today. That's one reason I think that the Planning Commission unanimously voted to recommend denial of the project. There's too many unknowns. In fact, the only known portion of the project that we know is with any certitude is that there's 24 multifamily units proposed for this parcel that once it was never ever contemplated to host residential development on the parcel. And that concludes my remarks. And I'm sure, as I said, that the applicant would be interested in describing the project in greater detail.
Open public hearing and give them Gilbert's or the applicant's comments.
Yeah, so if there's questions for staff, those would come first.
Do we have any questions for staff?
Always. So just a quick question here is you keep coming back to that 6 units as authorized for that. The way I'm reading this though is they wouldn't even be authorized 6 units because they're only saying 8,850 square feet of commercial, which that under the zoning code would actually only allow 2 units of residential. Is that correct? Because it's for every 3,000 square feet of commercial, they get 1 unit. So at 8,850 square feet, they actually should only get 2 units, not even the full 6. Is that correct?
Let's see, they're allowed, well, like you said, they're allowed 1 unit for every 3,000 square feet
of commercial.
Right. And 3 stories.
So if they're only doing 8,850 square feet of commercial, then they should only be allowed 2 residential units, not even the full 6.
Oh, that's possible. I'm not exactly sure. I would have to read the formula and reapply it to the project, because I know there's been a lot of changes with the project depending on what they put forward, but we do know that it's nowhere near 24 units.
Okay.
Any other questions?
That's all I have for right now. I have some for the applicant, but no more for staff.
So with that, open public hearing. Okay, so we will open public hearing.
Yeah, I think it's 2 units. It's 2 units per 3,000 square feet.
Good evening, Mayor Pro Tem and council members. We're glad to be here again. We were here a year ago, and I want to discuss kind of the process a little bit that is very much detailed. And I apologize for a big, long letter that you might not have gotten to read carefully. But the project is, as I've been involved in it for quite some time. But really, we want to discuss what's happened about a year ago. So, and let me explain what our emphasis has been. And I'll admit, ours has been, how do you develop a project that is liable? I mean, that is feasible, financially feasible. And so we had at one time that didn't officially go through. We had a project that had 24 units and similar commercial uses as well. And we decided after talking with lenders, and at that time, the lending was very inexpensive interest rates, which is not your concern, but it was ours to make a project that was viable. So the viable project was 32 units, and the commercial was almost non-existent. So I will agree with the first analysis that the Planning Commission did, which was we were just a residential project, and the only commercial part was the parts that could could be connected with the residential. We had a laundromat, and we had a C-store that was only going to be allowed, because of the zoning, was only going to be allowed to be used by those residences. Not a very practical thing. So when we said that, and the planning commission said no, that quite frankly, we said, okay, we've got to rethink this. There was some merit to what the planning commission came up with, that we admit. And here's the things that were the staff had brought to our attention. If you want to pursue this to the city council, and we were already 2 weeks away from the city council meeting, so we stayed with that. And we said, there's things that we need to kind of reconsider. We were always concerned about what's good for us and not necessarily what's good for you. And now we want to tell you what I think the project has become, something that's good for you. So now we are at 24 units, which is a reduction of 25%. And the 3,000 square foot that really wasn't commercial, was only subsequent to the residential, was only 3,000 square feet. Now we have almost 9,000 square feet of commercial and 24 units. And this was like, at the time, as much as we could handle financially with getting a loan that was even higher interest rates. So now what are we, the planning commission had several instances that were very viable, I thought. Like, okay, you're putting in a laundromat, and you're not putting any laundries in the units. So you're forcing the people to come and use your laundromat to make money. And that was true. And so the suggestion was by the staff letter that maybe you consider putting those in each of the units, which is exactly what we did on the one that you're looking at. So we've abolished the laundromat, and don't mean to pick on the staff report that was still using the laundromat. Those are minor things. I agree with you, Paul. Those are inconsequential. But the fact is, the laundromat is gone. The C-store is gone. The C-store was also going to need, I've designed a lot of C-stores that are conversions of gas stations, and they are convenience stores, and they are definitely dependent on about 25% of their sales is alcohol. Alcohol was not wanted. So what we have now is 24 units. The laundromats are in the units, and we have almost 9,000 square feet of commercial that is open to the public. So the 24 units is where we can handle this. And then that was turned down by the planning commission also, even though I felt in the description, it was meet some or most of the conditions that were the reasons why the planning commission turned it down. So we feel that we have met most of those conditions. Now, the issue is, how do we clean up the whole process? The process was general plan amendments, and it was complicated. And so we hired our attorney, Christine Kemp, and she's here to explain about the development agreement and what that really means and how appropriate that is for this particular project. And so I want to describe a little bit about where your zoning is for commercial use. That was totally appropriate when you were when that got approved as highway commercial. Understand that makes a lot of sense. Let me tell you where the world is now. I design a lot of shopping centers. I did Gonzales Shopping Center, Soledad Shopping Center, Prunedale Shopping Center, and half a dozen others that are in Salinas and even in San Jose. So that was all about retail. And that's what you're asking. We want retail. Retail is a whole different story now. People don't go into stores to buy things. They order them online. So getting a retail operation fully is not going to work. No one's going to finance it. We can't get financing for that. That's why the housing has to be joined in with the commercial. So give you an example. So I designed a shoe factory in San Jose, and they did shoes all over the country. And I did 100,000 square foot operation for them to build and ship their shoes to their stores. Well, it turned out that people were coming into the store, trying on the shoe, and then ordering online. So they weren't getting any sales. So they decided to change how they did their business and they do it everything is sold online now, so they can get the business that they were losing. Well, that's what the world is doing now. And you probably are ordering a lot of things online that you didn't used to. I do. And so it's a different country now where retail is so needed. People aren't building shopping centers now. And retail centers are tough. I work for Hardin Ranch. I work for the shopping centers in Salinas, and they are hurting. They're losing people. And Northridge lost Sears. That's a big anchor tenant. And you get financing, you got to have anchor tenants. This property is so small and narrow, as Paul mentioned, it's almost unbuildable. And what we have now is a residential project that is. So I'd like to show you just a quick little video that it shows you what you're going to get. This is an upscale residential project. It's not a low-income housing project. This is where your low-income people are going to want to move to. It only takes about a couple of minutes.
Yeah, it doesn't sound like the video is available.
Well, it was working when I came in. Okay, well, we had it working when I came in. So it's a beautiful rendering, fly through that takes you all through the project. It shows you that it's beautiful. It's something that you're going to be proud of in the city to embrace this project. And there are, and we've enhanced the commercial part. The new photos that you're not going to get to see have to do with all glass storefronts. And so the predominance of the front elevation is commercial, and you have residential above. So we're leaning toward, we're taking the Planning Commission's original advice to heart, and we're making this a better project. Now I'd like you to welcome Christine Kent with Nolan Hammerly, Etienne and Haas, and she's going to help you understand how the development agreement is the perfect vehicle for this project. And then we're both will be available for questions.
Good evening, council members and Mayor Pro Tem. Christine Kemp representing the landowners. Sorry that you're unable to see the fly through of the project because it's actually a very, very lovely project. And as David said, the difficulty is it's a very small site, and to have a commercial only project is very difficult to attract people who want to develop that. So the concern is it's going to sit as a vacant lot as it's sat for many, many years, and nothing will happen with it. The city won't get tax money. The housing won't be built, and the commercial won't be built. When they contacted me, they had been to the Planning Commission the very first time, and we strategized with city staff, Rob Mullane, about how can we do this, a general plan amendment, a rezoning, and all of that with lots of legislative actions that were complicating the project. So we looked at the mixed use code in your city code. So this is totally within your city code, which talks about the fact that the mixed use overlay establishes residential use as a permitted use. And then it goes on to say that residential uses as part of the mixed use development are allowed in the CH zoning district, which is your commercial highway district. And then it goes on to say that additional units may be granted in accordance with density bonuses or by means of a development agreement adopted pursuant to 1716-160. So your city code provides for your ability in a mixed use where you have commercial and you have residential that you can increase the density through the use of the development agreement. The key with the development agreement is that it keeps the underlying zoning. So your highway commercial still remains your underlying zoning. And then there was a question about what the uses would be. So you have your allowed uses in commercial zoning, and you look at your code, you have a CH category, and everything that's in yellow in here is a allowed or conditionally allowed or not allowed use. So we don't have identified tenants yet, but there are a host of uses, a neighborhood market, offices, restaurants that can be in that commercial area in conjunction with the residential uses. And it's also important to have the residential uses nearby that would frequent these commercial entities so that they would have customers. So it's kind of a win-win where you have some additional housing, a lovely upscale town type of housing, washing machines in the buildings themselves, and to have a commercial adjunct commercial use right next door, which is totally allowed in your city code. Nobody's bending any rules or trying to do anything that's not straightforwardly allowed in your code. So we request that you approve the project. We understand the planning commission had some concerns about the loss of the commercial space, but as a practical reality, use of that space as commercial has sat there for many, many years as a vacant piece of property and nothing's happened to it. So now you have someone coming forward, accepting the commercial highway as the underlying zoning, all of the zoning requirements of commercial, the size, the height, the setbacks, and all of that pertain, the parking, the landscaping, the development agreement on page 2 specifically says that the applicable base zoning is the highway commercial, and all of the city's codes with regard to landscaping, accessory lighting, parking, all of that is consistent with the city's code. So we're not asking for variances or items that don't follow the code. We're just asking to use the development agreement as allowed under the mixed use overlay to increase the density so that you have a true mixed use. You have residential and you have commercial on this reasonably difficult site to develop. So with that, we're asking that you take a bold step. Planning Commission, they were concerned about the loss, but they were also concerned about things like alcohol sales. And they weren't happy that there was a convenient market that was going to have alcohol sales. Well, under the highway commercial zoning, alcohol sales involve a special use permit. So they won't have alcohol sales unless the city says they can have alcohol sales. So we're maintaining the underlying commercial highway zoning district, but we're getting some additional upscale, lovely homes, inside washers and dryers, townhouses, split level townhouses, second floor, third floor. They're not third floor apartments. They're apartments that have on a second floor, they have an internal third floor. So they're really lovely, lovely units, and very sad you can't see the fly through. And Mr. Elliott has worked on enhancing the commercial that would be at the front of the project. So with all of that, we hope that you will give us the opportunity to work with the development agreement. If you want some tweaks, if you want, there was an option too that we had put forward with somewhat of a reduced density, but a lot of it's driven by what is actually going to be financially feasible for the property. No one will develop that if it's not going to be financially viable project. So we ask that you consider the project today and that you will work with us on a development agreement, and that we can come up with a project that preserves your commercial areas, but also makes it viable for the landowner to be able to do something with the property that's right now just sitting there vacant. So if you have any questions, Mr. Elliott and I are here to answer those. And we ask for your support tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. I do see we have a comment online. Laura? Laura, can you hear us? It looks like she's unmuted. Laura, I'm not sure if you are speaking. We can't hear you. It said, oh, it just let me unmute again. Okay. Laura, we're unable to hear you. So we're gonna ask if there are any other public comments online or in person.
Hmm.
I'm not seeing any in person, but
I have a quick follow-up comment. So the owner is really, this is over his head to be able to do this. So we are entertaining, depending on your decision, we are entertaining a new development group. And I can't say who that is, but we'll be meeting with him tomorrow if we're going to continue with this or if we're going to get it approved. And they'll knock your socks off as who they are. You'll know who they are. They're professional people that can do a great job developing this and maintaining the concerns that you have of multiple families that might be living there and things like that. There's going to be contracts that are people will have to leave if they offend the contracts. There's an on-site manager going to be there. And so all the things that would make this project successful are going to be involved in our project. And the new developers are really spectacular.
thank you.
We're gonna try something.
Try again. Okay. Laura, can you unmute yourself?
Can you hear me? Sorry.
Yes, we can.
Hello?
Yes.
Okay. Good evening, City Council. My name is Laura. Just a quick comment. I think this is a good opportunity. If the owners are meeting the codes and the requirements by the city, why not go ahead? I mean, we have staff that have to be bringing in businesses to the community, but they're not doing what they're supposed to, or at least bringing in other businesses than what is the cannabis. I think I'd rather have apartments and the small businesses along the sideway than filling up the El Camino Real or along the Highway 101 with cannabis on the side. I mean, what kind of appearance are we giving to visitors passing through our community? As soon as you walk in, you could pick up that smell of cannabis. I mean, some of us just hate it, but that seems to be something that you guys like to bring, just the cannabis, which is generating money for some of the staff. That's why I think you guys are not allowing people like these owners that are trying to bring in housing and small little commercial businesses. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Any other public comments?
And if you read the fine print of option 2, what we're looking at is the new development group would like an opportunity. If you choose to deny this as the 24 units, we'd like the opportunity to reduce it down one more time to see if we can financially accomplish this project. And that's what the option 2 is all about, to give an opportunity in a month. And during that time, we'll also be seeking real retail tenants. So we'll be bringing new retail tenants so you know who you're getting. And we think that's part of what was concerned. And we hadn't focused on that before.
Does council have any questions for the applicant?
So I think one of the big concerns we have is about circulation and parking. And I see what is it, 84, roughly 84 parking spaces. How is this going to be divided up so you can ensure that the commercial stays in the commercial, the residential stays with the residential? Because the way we see it now is it's one big lot.
That's a very fair question. When we do large shopping centers, there's a contiguous parking analysis, so they don't want to do that. So everybody can park on everybody's parcel. In this particular case, we heard the Planning Commission carefully say we were concerned about that. So we are going to label the parking spaces for the tenants, and the rest will be for the retail.
And how is it going to be enforced?
We have an on-site manager that will be taking a look at that. If we've got problems with retail and residential parking and people are parking in the street or something like that, that's just not acceptable. And the people that are in offense of that, including multiple families, these are one family per unit. This is not multiple families per unit, and that will be taken a look at on an everyday basis. On-site manager.
Okay. My next question is what definition of a single family would you like to use?
Well, Yeah, so like, okay, I'll be honest. My mother retired and she came to live with me and my kids. And I took my mom in because she couldn't care for herself anymore. You're going to have some of that, but it's not going to be overwhelming. We're going to have to watch to make sure you aren't having multiple families in there, which is an ongoing problem in all of Monterey County.
I do have one more quick question, and this relates to the way it was presented to us and the document that you actually sent. Is you actually stated earlier that the original plan for the C-store and the laundromat was to have them not accessible to the public.
That's correct.
That's not the way it was presented to the Planning Commission. The Planning Commission minutes clearly state that it was presented originally as a public laundromat and a public convenience store. Is that a mistake on one of our parts? I just want to clarify that.
Okay, when we were working with Rob, the planner,
right?
He couldn't justify in the planning at one time. He could not justify it that in the planning that he could allow it to be separate. And so the staff is the one that told us that was the case. And Rob had said we're gonna go this way. And then he magically figured out a very creative way where we could edit the change the zoning and those kind of things to allow the project the way it is. Okay. And then finally, the development agreement is the best way to go, because now you're not changing the zoning. You're not doing a general plan amendment. Right. Very simple. You have it's not something new for you. You have development agreements all the time. You got development agreements on the agenda tonight.
Right. Okay. One more quick question, and that is, how many commercial tenants are you foreseeing in this roughly 9,000 square feet of commercial space?
That's a good question. I don't know. It's going to be kind of on a first serve basis. If we get a major tenant that wants all of it, that's a possibility. Not very likely. Most of the people that we have in shopping centers are they're either franchises or they're mom and pops. Right. They're very small. I've done 150 subways. Okay, none of them are over 1,000 square feet.
Right. That's where I was going with this. Is do we plan on having?
You can have. That's more like. It's more likely they're going to be 1,000 square feet. And if you allow us to take a look at the 20 units, it goes up to 12,000 square feet. So we might have 12 tenants.
Okay.
If you let us take a look at it.
Okay.
Any other questions for the applicant from council?
Is it question, comments, or just questions right now? Just for clarification.
Just questions for the applicant.
Okay. No question.
Good evening. What are you charging for these upscale apartments?
Well, there's formulas that you use for market rate and stuff like that. We're not going to exceed any of that. Here's one little really good thing that's going to happen. So I met the superintendent of Monterey County Office of Education, Deneen Gus, about 5 years ago. 5 years ago, we're sitting at a table and I didn't know her. Now she's the superintendent. She was the assistant at the time. She says, David, how can we keep our teachers in this area? The cost of a teacher coming into this area is so outrageous that we can't keep young teachers here. So we have committed on 3 projects, including this one, to allocate 5 of the units that will be used for teacher housing. And another thing is that we're going to allow an equity position in the rental agreement so that they're building some equity even as a renter so that they can move up to a nicer place.
With that, we'll close public hearing
Thank you.
and we will go to city council comment.
So I guess it's my opportunity to give my comment. I just want to echo with what our community member just mentioned. Hearing this come to the table for the second time around and knowing how that piece of land has just been empty there for quite some time. Even at one point, there was a fire in that property. And so I know that a lot of the cities, especially now that we came from the conference, a lot of cities are actually looking at that open space that they have. Like, how can we really start focusing on utilizing the land? I know there's certain things that we might have on our city codes that might not permit for certain development. But at the end of the day, I think it's just fair that we take this opportunity, because yes, housing is a need in not just Greenfield, but in many other communities throughout the nation. And then just the fact that we will be able to have a piece of land that's actually being utilized, because I know that a lot of our kids actually go through that area when they're going and coming from one of our local elementaries. And we've known in the past that areas that are kind of abandoned do have rates of violence or, stuff that shouldn't be happening. So as long as we start utilizing our land for something good, and housing is something that it's needed, I am in full support of this project.
Any other council comments?
So as a council, we appoint the planning commission to take a look at things and present us with what they believe is the best option. At this point, honestly, the planning commission has voted unanimously twice to deny this project. And I can't help but wonder why we keep bringing it back if the planning commission keeps denying it. Because does that mean that we're second guessing our own planning commission? I do believe that bringing it back with as you mentioned, with the 12,000 square feet of commercial and the 20 units of housing would be a better opportunity for us to take a look at it. At this point, I really can't see this one going forward, especially since the planning commission has voted, again, unanimously twice to deny this project.
Councilmember Ortiz, do you have any additional comments?
I have a lot of concerns about it because it's 3 stories. The people that are going to be behind there, they've been there for probably 30 years or more. And I think, they're used to having their privacy, and then with so high up, they're going to be looking over. I was just driving through Los Angeles, and I see a lot of this, the 3 stories, 4 stories up on the side of the freeway. And those of us in the vehicle, we were talking like how I guess it's okay for the city, but I don't see it for our community. I'm concerned about having homes there, apartments there, and a chain link fence. That's the only thing blocking from the freeway. And there's going to be families in there. There's going to be kids in there. And it bothers me because kids can get out of anything. And we've had issues like that before. We've had kids wandering around town, and that's not even by the freeway. That's just regular streets. There was an incident in Prunedale, a child crossing the street who died, although she did have certain things, challenges, but still the fact is that she got out, she crossed the freeway, she didn't know. And so that's a big concern for me. Right now we're dealing with a lot of traffic on the overpasses, and I don't see it getting any better. I see a lot of people walking from the H2A, the apartments that are right there across from the AM/PM, and people don't stop for them, and they're walking back and forth to the stores. And I can just imagine a family walking with their kids. I mean, it's something that we need to address before we start putting in more apartments on that side. And I think that was, and again, you keep saying that they're luxury upscale apartments. I'm sorry, they're upscale apartments. So I'm wondering, what is the rent going to be like? Because right now we have a lot of affordable housing, affordable apartments, low income apartments that people are still barely making ends meet. And I don't see how it's going to help our overcrowding, because there's no rule anywhere to say that Greenfield residents have priority over renting. So we're compounding the problem if other people are going to come in. I mean, everybody's welcome, but we're not doing anything to alleviate overcrowding if we renting to a lot of people that are coming from out of town. And I know housing is very important. I know that it is, but I really want to do something good for the community. And I just don't think that this is the answer. I have to, I've got to listen to what the planning commission said, and they were unanimous in what they said. I was here at the meeting to hear everything. And so those are my thoughts.
Any last comments? Actually, he didn't sound like person. So I'll entertain a motion on this item.
I want to move that we adopt the resolution denying the design review of development and the project. That is the resolution that will sit in the public hearing.
I'm sorry, the question was because you specifically had asked about if we were to deny it with prejudice or without prejudice. So my question to the city attorney was, does the motion have to specify with prejudice or without prejudice? That was the question.
So if you don't say with prejudice, then it's without prejudice. So you don't have to specify unless you do want to, if you don't want to see it back, then you would say with prejudice. Like the motion would.
And as I mentioned, I am looking forward to seeing the revised project that they were discussing.
Okay. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
No. Motion passes.
I didn't hear that.
Oh, yeah.
So it's 3-1.
We like to hear. But we didn't vote for it. We were going to deny it as is. So are we allowed to come back with the other? That was the reason for the with versus without prejudice option. This is without prejudice, yes, we can bring back the other option.
Yes.
And as I mentioned before, I would definitely like to see that other option. Thank you.
Thank you.
If
You could make your comments from the podium, please.
I do have, if we can't see the video, maybe they can send a link so we can see the video. Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
I think we definitely would like you to see the link and the overall architecture of it. It may be a little hard to open, it may be large, but that's important to see. And with regard to coming back, do we want to set a time to come back, or just not sure? We had asked to have it continued and come back in a month.
The public hearing is closed and the city council has made its decision. So, I don't think that there can be further discussion on the item.
Well, just clarity in that they said that they would like to see the revised project come back.
And that would be when it's ready to come back.
What was that?
When it's ready to come back, but after you work with staff. Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah,
All right.
you'll follow the standard city process.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And I think we can ask for Mayor White back. But you still trip up on it when it's the first time.
Oh, no.
Sugar? All right, let's. Now you guys have. Well, I just took a break, but I think let's take a 10-minute break. And then apologies if you want that. two for a 20,000 square foot prefab steel building with commercial cannabis cultivation operations. New paved parking lot with a 24 spaces and additional landscaping on the 3.1 acre partially developed lot. Staff report.
Thank you, Mayor. As you stated, the project consists of a design review for this project for an existing cannabis licensee who actually was one of the original 13 licensees back in 2017. The project holds an existing conditional use permit for cannabis to allow cannabis. It has a regulatory permit approved by the city council, as well as as conditional use permit and the development agreement. And what we're asking today is the design review for phase 2 of what is to be a 4-phase project. The council may remember this site that before the development when it was barbed wire and chain link and very dilapidated. So since 2019, staff has worked with the property owner to execute the improvements on the 14,000 square foot facility that was phase 1. And they are currently in business with an active renewal regulatory permit. Because the highest ranking permit, which would be the development agreement and the use permits, were approved by the city council, this makes the city council the approving authority. This is why the design and approval is before the city council. On November 9th, 2021, the city council approved a lot merger and a design review for the first phase of the development, which included the renovation of the existing 14,000 square feet commercial building. This design review before the council tonight is for phase 2, which, as the mayor described in the project description, consists of installation or construction of a 20,000 square feet steel building, prefabricated steel building. You'll see on the slide, located on the southerly portion of the site plan, adjacent to the existing facility, as well as the required 24 parking spaces, 1 ADA compliant space, and of course, the additional landscaping is also included. Phase 3 will include is forecasted to include the undergrounding of utilities on the site and further development of the acreage up to Pine. So it should look very nice. The cultivation areas themselves inside the proposed 20,000 square foot building consists of a 1,990 square foot cultivation room, a 300 square foot clone propagation room, 6 flower rooms ranging from 1,925 square feet to 1,942 1,942 square feet for a total floor area of 11,635 square feet. There will be 2 620 square foot drying rooms, 512 square foot fertilizer and irrigation room, a 380 square foot vault, 550 square foot packing area, and a break room and 780 square feet delivery room. The existing 6 foot high wrought iron perimeter fence extends 1,000 feet around the subject site, and of course that will remain. And the southern gated entrance fronting El Camino Real will be shifted approximately 100 feet north to align with the southern end of the paved parking area. The construction phase is anticipated to take approximately 12 months. And essentially, that concludes staff's report on this. For those of you who have toured these facilities, the drying room and the pick room, and hopefully that has some meaning for you. But they're very compelling facilities, and this is as I said, just phase 2 in addition to their current phase 1 operation.
Thank you very much, Paul. I will go ahead and open the public hearing.
Good evening, City Council. This is Vyasa Pearson. I'm the owner at 689 El Camino Real. Just wanted to introduce myself tonight and open up for any questions you guys have for me. We're very grateful to be working with you guys and being able to move forward and finally getting 689 open and operational. And I feel like we did a really good job on the look of it from ECR. And we look forward to working on this new building to really get the landscape looking very nice and taking it up a notch and just expanding what we first started when we came to Greenfield. And we plan to be here a long time and be a pillar in the community, bring more jobs, and just make ECR look better and work with you guys to make that happen. And eventually we'll jump to 701 across the street, and we have plans to do that as well, and just continue to make the whole frontage beautified and bringing it to how it's looking now, and just moving forward. And it's been a pleasure working with everyone and helping us along the way. And if you have any questions, let me know.
Any other public comments?
Can you hear me?
Yes. Let me go ahead and close the public hearing. And we'll be back to City Council comments, review, action.
So I'll start with my normal question for this is I noticed that all the parking is currently inside the fence. Is that projected to remain the same? Because I know an issue with that across the street at 900 Cherry.
All of our parking's inside the gate.
Is that planning on maintaining? Are you planning on maintaining that and not requiring your employees to park outside the gates?
No, they'll all be inside the gate. It'll be all gated parking that's controlled by security.
Okay.
I noticed your parking lot on this one is on the northern portion of the lot. Is that by design?
The current parking or the future?
The current parking is in front of the main building. I noticed this parking is on the north side as opposed to the building which is on the south side.
It'll be like just adjacent to the new building. Right in front. All the parking will be in front of both buildings.
Okay. Any questions? Resolution. Resolution 2023-101.
Move to approve.
Move to approve. Do I have a second?
A second.
Motion and a second. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
No.
All right, we'll move to item M1, adopt a resolution, City Council, City of Plainfield, approving the Walnut Place subordination agreement. Staff report, please.
That will be me. I'm just looking for my page here. Good evening, Mayor and City Council. This item is a request that you approve a subordination agreement for the Walnut Place development. In 2005, the city's redevelopment agency received a $500,000 loan from the California Housing Finance Agency, which we call CalHIFA. The city redevelopment agency subsequently loaned those funds to Community Housing Improvement Systems and Planning Association, CHISPA, to construct a 40-unit rental development, which is called Walnut Place. Chispa agreed to lease all 40 apartments in that development exclusively to very low and low income tenants for a period of 55 years. And if they do so, they will not be required to repay the $500,000 loan. In 2017, the City Redevelopment Successor Agency repaid approximately $650,000. $500,000 of that was the principal of the loan and $150,000 in interest paid back to CalHIPA. And Chispa maintains the obligation, though, to the city to rent those homes to low and very low income households for the 55 years. Otherwise, they are obligated to repay that $500,000. Chispa reached out a few months ago, letting the city know that they would be refinancing their primary loan for the Walnut Place project. So not the city's loan to them, but they have a larger primary mortgage. And they asked that as a part of that, the city execute a subordination agreement subordinating its loan to the primary loan. And essentially, this just means that the city's loan will be secondary to the primary loan on the property. So there's always some risk to subordinating a loan because if there is a default, the primary loan will be paid first, and then the city would receive its money second. In this case, the city's loan is about 30% of the total. The primary loan's about $1.2 million, and the city's loan is $500,000. And also, as I mentioned, the city loan isn't required to be repaid if after 55 years, the Walnut Place has been exclusively rented to low and very low income tenants. There are some protections in the subordination agreement for the city. So, for example, they will be notified if there is a default on the primary loan. And the city can exercise remedies such as specific performance, meaning they can require Chispa to continue renting to the low and very low income families. So that is the report. Are there any questions?
It will be a total of $1.7 million against the property.
Correct.
And 40 units. So probably $46 million in at least, I think, in value.
Oh, I don't know that.
I do.
Okay, you do.
So we're still very low loan to value ratio.
Right, that's true.
Very low.
Any more questions?
So what is the risk to the city if we don't sign this?
It's really you would not, I think the risk is related to your partnership with Walnut Place and Chispa. There's no fiscal risk, but it is, I think, more that relationship risk. And also, yeah, that's really the risk that I see.
I think the biggest risk is Chispa would not be very happy. And it's not necessarily what we want. I think the risk financially is minimal.
Well, I understand that. I just wanted to look at both sides of it to see what would happen if we didn't do this. And you're saying it would cause irreparable harm to the city from a relationship point of view with Chispa as opposed to anything else, as opposed to any financial repercussions.
I mean, worst case scenarios, there's 40 apartments of very low and low income families that would be displaced if they couldn't pay if they are unable to refinance their existing mortgage, which is coming due in November. I expect their current bank would foreclose and displace 40 families. So I think that's the risk.
Which kind of links me to the question as to why are they refinancing now with interest rates so high?
Their loan is coming due, so they have to. Yeah, that's the case. Their loan is coming due in November, and so they have to refinance or pay.
Okay.
I think it makes a lot of sense to go ahead and go forward with it and invest it very well and keep the apartments and
Did we have public comment?
We had,
Okay.
he opened it, closed it.
Okay, sorry, I missed that. I just missed it.
Gotcha.
All right. I'll entertain a motion on resolution 2023-122.
I move we adopt it.
Need a second?
Second.
Second, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? M3, resolution of the city council, city of Greenfield making an appointment to the Stone Valley Solid Waste Authority. I'm sorry, I missed that one. Sorry
Yes,
about
you
that.
did.
A resolution, city council, city of Greenfield approving the implementation of postponed 2023-2024 water rate increase. Staff report, please.
Paul and I are going to provide the staff report jointly, but just as a matter of background, you've heard this item twice before. The first, well, actually 3 times before. So you've originally approved water rate increases in June. In July, the city realized that there was an error in the utility billing system related to water rates where a previously adopted rate hadn't been charged for a number of years. And so in order to give city staff some time to investigate that, the city council postponed that rate increase, and that occurred in July. In August, we returned, provide city council some more information, indicating it wasn't clear how that error occurred, but also that the current rate study was valid and still legally defensible. And so at the last meeting, council asked that staff return with some more detail about a phased approach to increasing the rates and what that phasing would mean for the ability of the city to complete its capital project. And so Paul has formulated 3 options for the city, all of which align with the Prop 218 notice that citizens received. So any one of these 3 options is legal and can be implemented right away. So with that, he is going to explain those 3 options.
Thank you. Yes, so the spreadsheet that's supplied in the staff report, in last page, I think it's 215 of the agenda, shows, wow, it's really a conglomeration of 3 documents, and the colors, hopefully you have a colored version. No. Okay, you do, good. Okay, the blue areas represent data that was in the 2016 water rate study, which is the water rate study that was done prior to the one that was just approved in July. The green numbers represent data that is coming from the 2023 rate study. And the orange or peach, depending on which printer was used, represents data that is coming from the 2021 Water Master Plan that was prepared by Wallace Group. It's we go up to the top and take a look at the presuppositions related to the amount of billed customers and the monthly account charges. The monthly account charges were developed in 2016 to help the city accumulate funds so that a lot of these major projects could be completed. The blue numbers, fiscal year 16-17 through 2021, that was anticipated. That never happened, which Jennifer just talked about. Fiscal year 21-22, if you see that's in white, that wasn't anticipated in either of the studies, but I put some numbers in representative of maintaining the current billing rate of $12.93. And then in green from 2022 up to fiscal year 26-27, you'll see the numbers that were actually approved in July by council. And so if you look, and so what these funds are supposed to do is they're intended to pay for the capital projects that are listed below. The ones in blue were the ones that were talked about in 2016. And the years, you'll see as the years go by that a variety of projects are completed. So the blue ones show everything that was anticipated in 2016. You go down to the report that was done, the Water Master Plan in 2021. There's a number of additional projects which are only looked at if you go to the far right. Those are the total expenditures that were, or the costs of each of those projects. And then we get down to the very bottom And we have what was anticipated in the 2023 rate study were just total amounts spent. They weren't actual projects. But because they've been listed out in both the Water Master Plan and the 2016 rate study, we know what those are. At the end of the day, if you go down to the notes in the bottom left-hand corner, what we're showing is the total CIP anticipated in the 2016 rate study was just shy of $13 million. The total CIP anticipated by the 2023 rate study was almost 8.5 million. The 2021 Water Master Plan anticipated over $21 million in CIP. And then the Water Master Plan also detailed additional future, they didn't say when, they just said future CIP projects totaling around 4 million. So the Water Master Plan is very detailed in what is needed, what we're doing, and it includes the most number of projects. And if you look at the type of projects we're talking about, these are all real infrastructure things. They're replacing 3-inch and 4-inch cast iron pipes, water pipes with PVC. We're replacing asbestos cement with PVC. We're replacing PVC with DIP. I don't know what that is, but it's changing out the old infrastructure underground in order to upgrade them to PVC in most places. And you can see it's done in segments, just like our road improvements are done. That's a lot of pipe. That's a lot of digging and drilling. Also, if I could just say, the total amounts that we're talking about, I said 2016 rate study was almost 13 million. That's also in 2016 dollars. They did make adjustments in the Water Master Plan for inflation for certain items. But the point is even when looking at that 13 million, it's got to be adjusted for inflation over the past 6 years, or 6 years, right? So it's likely that what even was anticipated in 2016 rate study is going to cost more than the numbers that are shown here. Okay, let's get down to the yellow part, because I've done 3 options, and the council can do whatever it wants at the end of the day. Option 1 is, let's just move forward with what was approved in July. What was approved in July, if you see the red line, it actually the first year of that 2023 rate study anticipated money coming in, but we didn't implement this rate study until July, or basically August of 2023. So we missed that first year of the rate increase. So we've been talking about, I think, $19.27 or something like that, 36 cents. In actuality, if council was to approve this and approve the rates that were originally approved in July, we'd actually be implementing a $21.30 a month flat rate for every user. Now, and if you're confused about where that comes from the rate study, but we had talked about in July when we were passing this, that it was going up from $12.97. And that's where we ran into the problems. We went in to take a look at the system. And in fact, they should have been charging $12.97, and we've been charging nothing. So this is a real increase of $21.30 per month per connection. And then if you look at that option 1, it goes up 5%, 5%, 5%, basically, to get to a final monthly charge of $24.66 in fiscal year 26-27. I then took let's go to the bottom line there, option 2. I know it's kind of out of order, but I said, okay, so that's basically putting us right on where we said we wanted to be in July, and biting the bullet and starting off with the second year amount of $21.30. Option 2 is, I said, well, let's do it a little bit different. let's look at where we should have been last year and where the last rate study ended. And that amount was $12.97. It's the amount that we've been talking about over the past month or so. And I said, okay, fine. Let's start there and see where we go, with the intention of making sure that we got to the final number of $24.66, because we don't want to be, 5 years from now repeating, or 4 years from now repeating this exercise and not being where we were supposed to be. So what that means is you start off this year at $12.97, and that's a break for the consumer. But to get up to that $24.66 in year 4, we need to increase that charge next year by 25%, from $12.97 to $16.21. And then another 25% to $20.27, and then 21+% to get to the $24.66. And then I said, okay, that's fine. Let's go middle ground, like actually the midpoint between those two. And the midpoint between $21.30, which is fiscal year 23-24 under option 1, and the $12.97 is $17.14. And then we increase it 25% the second year, and then 9.5% and 5.1% to get to the $24.66. What that does, and really don't forget, all this is, I say all it is we're trying to make enough money to put in our coffers so that we can pay for these dozens of very expensive $21 million worth of CIP projects that we need to do over the course of, however long. We have not done them for the past 7 years, at least. They haven't been done. They were scheduled to start in 2016, 2017. So if you go over to the right of the yellow numbers, it'll show you what the impact is. Okay, impact relative to what the rate study, this recent rate study in 2023 said. The recent rate study said that we were going to generate revenues of approximately, I go up to the top in the green area, 5.7, I believe. So 5.77 million. Well, if we implement and say option 1 is we implement this, the plan that we've got, we already know we didn't collect anything last year. And we missed 2 months because we postponed it. Actually, it was approved in July, so it wasn't going to be implemented until August anyway. And then we found the error, and so we put it off a month. So we've missed 2 months already. So with all that taken into account, the amount of money that we project to generate is about 4.6 million. So that's about a million. Well, it shows right here, 1.157 million less than what we projected. Okay, I'm going to call that best case scenario. If you really bite the bullet hard, that's where we are. Let's go to option, I'll call it option 3, which is the middle ground, the second row of numbers. And we generate, we're projecting to generate $3.778 million, which is 1.995, about 2 million short of what the original 2023 rate study projected we would generate. And the number over to the right of that is 837,000 less than option 1. So if we go with option 3 over option 1, we're going to be generating, we're short 837,000. And then go down to option 2, which is the lowest of all. We generate 2.537 million, which is 1.379 less than what was originally projected in the 2023 rate study. So, and once again, these are just 3 options that I thought made sense. I mean, there was a little bit of logic going into it. Council can do whatever it wants, although it cannot go above what the voters approved, which is option 1. It can't go higher than that, which I don't think that's going to be a problem for you. So, and then the other item to remember is we're not trying to pay for all of our CIP with this money. We have impact fees, which in the bank now, which all developers pay because they have an impact on the water. There's only certain things that we can pay with that money, but things like a new well, which is what we're in the middle of purchasing now, and a new, 1.5 million gallon tank, water tank, those do qualify. And those numbers are in the blue area. They've already in here. So that's already included. So, and that's $4.6 million. So, and in total, we would think by the end of this time period, we might have $9-10 million that we have available to spend on these projects. We're not going to get them all done, but I think that's okay. We're kind of behind the eight. If you got any questions, please let me know.
Right. Go out to public comment on this item. Seeing none, I'll bring it back to council.
Where do I start? Why weren't the projects started in 2016?
So, I'm sorry, say that again.
Why weren't the projects started in 2016, 2017 when they were supposed to have been started?
I don't have an answer for that. I wasn't city manager. I'm not passing the buck. I'm just saying. I think there was a lot of turmoil around this time at the council level. I mean, I know we didn't have city manager was in flux. City council was in flux. City attorney's office was in flux. I'm not saying that's the reason because you're asking a question about public works. Well, yeah, and then we've been making improvements, I believe, to all three of those areas, and all four of those areas. I think it also includes public works. I don't know. That's a great. I'm asking myself the same question.
Okay.
Yeah.
The next question is do we have any idea what the adjusted amounts are going to be to pay for those items in blue that haven't been done yet?
I would say in the items in blue, no, I don't know. What I could do is I could go through and use the same inflation numbers that the master plan used in 2021 and apply them to the items in blue to get a better view of that.
Because the reason I'm asking for that is because the numbers that you have down at the bottom saying that we're 1 million, 2 million, or 2.5 million short are really misleading because we're really much more than that short. Because if we have to go back and pay for the items in blue at increased costs, we need to go back and make sure that we're bringing that money into the coffers as well. While I understand that even a $12 payment for some of our constituents is beyond a doubt they can't do it. We have to look at the entire city. One of the things that this is going to do is it's going to help prevent the complaints that we had earlier that there are water leaks all over the city. Going through and replacing some of this aging infrastructure, which is something I've been pushing for 5 years, is definitely something we need to start looking at, and we need to start delivering for our constituents. We need to start delivering better infrastructure, more robust infrastructure, because right now, honestly, our city infrastructure is failing, and that's actually going to end up costing us development going forward because we don't have the water, we don't have the sewer capability, we don't have the electric capability to deliver much more housing, much more commercial to our residents. So we need to definitely take a hard look at where we're going with this and make sure that we're delivering effectively on the monies that we're spending. So I definitely think we need to look at how much that extra that's going to cost us going forward and when we can start implementing this.
Okay. Any questions or comments? So Paul, we have $4.2 million in the impact fees.
Yes.
Now that number should go up over the next few years also, correct?
It should, yeah, as development comes in.
Okay.
Yes.
I know we got pushback when we did the original rate increase. Around, what was it, around $7, it's 97 or whatever the heck it was.
So we thought it was, yes.
Turns out the prior administrations have passed $13 that we really didn't know about, so. I kind of feel that we kind of bite the bullet, and I would recommend we go with like the second tier and take the additional money from the impact fees to take it from those items.
Okay, so the impact fees are fees that are charged, and correct me if I go astray, are fees that are paid by developers to help mitigate like additional usage because of their development. So that I don't know that all of these pipelines.
All can be used, but I mean,
Right.
we have a well online. We
Yes.
have water tank
Tank,
online.
yeah, absolutely.
Those are
And
large
water
ticket
lines
items, so-
to connect those, absolutely.
And that was actually going to be my next piece is which of those items can we use the impact fees for?
Right. And if we can use it for those are large items, and those should, take a big chunk of that. And of course, we're not going to be doing all these other items at the same time. So I mean, it's going to be in stages. So, and we do end up at the same number at the end on all these. So I mean, all these options.
I was just going to point out that the water impact, all impact fees have a nexus study that identifies specific projects or types of projects that those impact fees can be paid for. And so that's what they have to be used for. And it's typically not a water line replacement so much as a water system expansion to facilitate the new development. That being said, anytime you have more impact fees, that's less that the rates have to supplement. So.
And that goes to what I was going to ask, because a lot of the blue items up at the top are replacing smaller pipes with larger pipes, which improves the infrastructure of the city, which you could say would be an impact, which would be mitigated by an impact fee.
Yes, if that's identified in the impact fee study. But yeah, I think there's an argument for that.
I'd also like to just address the issue of prices from the blue items going up. Absolutely true. Just remember that, yes, I think it's appropriate to look at the $21 million line, because while it doesn't increase the blue numbers, it's a pretty significant number. And if the highest we can do is generate 4.6, we still got a long way to go, and we aren't going to go any higher than that. So even if we find out that the blue numbers go up another million, 2 million, whatever it is, we're left with the same dilemma, as it were. It's if we go with option one, it's the biggest impact on the community, and it will generate the most money, but it does not generate enough money. And I don't know that it's imperative that we identify where all the money's coming from right now. It's just, we want to put ourselves, we've already lost 6 years of this fee that it was determined back in 2016 that the city needed. And the city council said, yeah, we need it. Hadn't been charged. So benefit consumers, okay, whatever. It's just that we don't have that money now to have gone after these projects.
How much money is in the water fund project?
There is around, I think there's around between 2.5 and 3 million, I believe, but I'll get back to you on that. I don't know exactly.
What's the thought of council? Do we want to block maintenance? Do we want to design? What's your feeling?
I have a comment. I know that I wasn't here for the past meeting where we had this conversation, and I understand all the different parts that are coming into play because of an oversight, and yes, because of different turmoil that we had in the city at all levels, at minister level, at council level, at staff level. We had some people in charge that really were not being held accountable for what they were doing at the time. Whatever the case might be, I just don't see myself representing my community and actually going with a fee that's higher, knowing the conditions that our community members are currently living with, paid paycheck to paycheck, a lot of unhoused folks that we have. We are literally living a recession. So I just cannot see myself going beyond option 2. But I would respect whatever the outcome and the majority of the council decides, but I just want to leave it on record that I don't see, I know it was an oversight. It was a mistake that it wasn't, I guess, caught on time or whatever the case might be. But I just don't think it's fair for our constituents, honestly. And I've been having a lot of pushback, and I've actually asked community members, if you're so upset of, this that's happening to you with the water rate, and you're having this wonderful argument, bring it to the council, bring it during public comment or during the agenda item. But we want to hear from you, the council. So I just really want to relay the message of what I hear in my constituents, but also empower them that they need to come and speak for themselves. But right now, at this moment, myself, I would go with option 2. I wouldn't see myself moving any other higher just because of life itself for our constituents.
I tend to agree with you, Nelly, on that. I think we're talking about raising it 6 to 7, and we're going to end up going almost 13 because of the error that was found. I think to go much higher is pushing the envelope on our constituents, and we do need to get the money. Don't get me wrong, we need to do these projects, but we do have a few other options that we can take, and I tend to agree. I think option 2 makes the most sense.
Thank you for doing this, because it makes everything a lot more clear. We have options now. I agree with Councilmember Martinez and Mayor that I'd go for option 2.
Any comments?
No.
Like I mentioned before, is I'm concerned that our residents do live where even $13 is a significant impact for them. But I'm also concerned with the city infrastructure. We need to look at that fine balance. What I think we need to do is I think we need to reach out to the State Water Board and see if there's additional funding, because we are an economically disadvantaged community. We need to reach out to them and see if there's additional money or funding that we can reach out to and receive for them. I know we're already talking to them about our new sewer treatment plant. So I think we need to talk to them and expand those talks to include some updates, some heavily needed updates to our water distribution system as well. And again, that'll help put us in a better situation moving forward. So as more and more of these commercial and residential developments come to town, we do have the water, we do have the infrastructure to support them. And we're just not saying, well, no, we don't have the water for you guys. Because I know we're going to hit that point fairly soon.
And we do need to get on some of these infrastructure projects.
Yes.
We need to move them up the list and try to get stuff going. They've been sitting on the sidelines for
6, 7 years.
7 years.
And who knows?
Exactly.
Maybe even before that.
All right, I will entertain the motion on M2.
I'll move to adopt option 2.
And I'll second.
Then move in second. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All right, thank you. All right, M3, resolution city council, city of Greenfield making an appointment to the Plains Valley Solid Waste Authority. Staff report, please.
So. Miracle Plan, acting on that with nothing else. And here, so now we're opening again for. We're actually leaving for council.
Oh, all right. Public comments? Seeing none, I'll move with the council comments.
I mean, I feel like it's fairly straightforward. If
I've done it in the past,
council
I'll do it
member
again.
Gooden wants to take that on, then I would move to appoint him.
Have a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Move in second, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, thank you. Congratulations, or condolences.
Well, I've dealt with it for 4 years already, so.
Okay, thank you. All right, let's move to N, League of Cities, Monterey Bay Division.
League of Cities had their luncheon and business meeting. There was no business. So we had a nice lunch. It was good.
All right. Item B, transportation agency to Monterey County.
I have a meeting tomorrow.
C is Monterey Bay Area Governments at the meeting. We met on 9/13. We are working, decided on the methodologies for growth projections. So that's what's on the agenda. And the next meeting is October the 11th. That's all. Always supporting it.
So actually, I can give you an update on that. The meeting last week was canceled for lack of forum.
Okay. Monterey Plains Transit.
We met on September 11th, and the biggest news to report was that there will be a line from Salinas to Gilroy again. There will be a 2-year partnership to make that happen. So that's exciting.
Monterey County Mayor's Association, we met here September the 1st, when that was Supervisor Layout. And we talked a lot about water projects at the dams, and is to give an update on the Papa Road situation. So the Jolly Mayor, we met with you. We met yesterday. In Salinas regarding ag mitigation. We met with LAFCO representatives, and we're trying to work out a framework as it moves in South County to work on ag mitigation and how to handle the development as they come out. And we find the groups are getting together, and they're going to do a proposal to the LAFCO.
We're going to try and get, we're going to try to get all 5 cities basically on the same program with the same terms with the county and LAFCO. And that really actually starts this week. And we will be presenting to the county and LAFCO what 5 cities believe is an appropriate ag mitigation structure. And then we'll start hashing away at it from there. But it's a big deal.
So, yeah, 5 cities is pretty much an agreement on a lot of the items,
Yes.
such as the 1-to-1 ratio.
Right.
A lot of that, but
There's a lot of things, a lot of pushback.
Right. From LAFCO. So we'll see how that all works out.
Right.
We'll keep you updated. Planning Commission.
Planning Commission. Report. From last week. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. So we covered that on today's meeting.
All right. All right, we'll move to the city attorney report.
I have 2 things that I wanted to bring up. The first being the city council can, if it would like, pass an ordinance that would determine how in the future vacancies are filled. And so if there's a consensus of council to do that, we can bring something back. So just looking for that consensus if it's something you're interested in. So, right now the city doesn't have an ordinance, so you just follow state law, but state law does allow cities to adopt their own ordinance that determines in advance how you would fill a vacancy.
Is that something we can get back to you on? That?
Yep. Yeah, just putting it out there. The other item is I attended the Cal Cities conference last week, and I learned what I thought was an interesting fact that impacts Greenfield or is related to Greenfield. So I wanted to share that with you, is that, Greenfield is one of the few agencies that met its cycle 5 RENA numbers. And I personally have kind of wondered if there were any other agencies in the count or in the state that have done that. And I learned that only 27 out of between 400 and 500, I can't remember quite the number, met their cycle 5 numbers. So just something I wanted to share and that council could be proud of.
Top 1%.
Top, is that 10%? 5%? But yeah, pretty good.
I too attended the conference. I like the most of the sessions that I went to this time, and I'll do a presentation next week on some of the things we picked up. Some were good, some were aggravating, but I think it's all good. So thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, I want to close the meeting, in honor of Juan Salinas, who passed away weeks ago. He was father, former city councilwoman,